4 years later, to really talk about the same subject. For the first time in 30 years, Chatham is going to the state semifinals, and we're hosting. And on the best of days, when you have a crowd like Cougar Weekend, you can't hear anything. And it's sad for the players, for the parents who have suffered through these past 4 years, especially the 2 years when we moved into the new conference and we won nothing, and we were praying for a score high enough so that the running clock would kick in and we could all go home. And we improved by winning 3 games last year, and now we're making tremendous strides with tremendous support and tremendous excitement that has led us to this game. And the gods are looking fondly upon us, and we're actually going to have a home game. We are expecting enormous crowds, as I'm sure you're all aware of and has been talked about tonight. West Essex does have a huge crowd base. The Cougar Nation has come out in droves. Kids are coming. Well, the 6th grade team just made it to the Super Bowl, so all the rec kids are all coming. There's going to be a tremendous amount of people there. And as I said, on the best of days, you can barely hear what's being announced. With the crowds that are going to be there, it's going to be virtually impossible to hear anything that's announced. So for 2 reasons, I ask you tonight to consider taking the volume above what it is at now, which is 3, maybe a 5, if we get a little crazy, so that people can actually hear what's being said. Not only the statement that's read about harassment, intimidation, and bullying, the policy that has to be read before each game, but also their kids' names announced as they're walking onto the field, how the plays go, who's making the tackle, who's made the touchdown, and for the fans' enjoyment in hearing that. You cannot hear on the opposite side of the field at all. Barely here in our stands. There's also a safety factor here, because the last time that we had a home game, we had issues and we had large crowds. We had issues with people who were parking where they weren't supposed to park, which would not enable people to get out in a timely fashion of the parking lot were there to be an issue or for an ambulance to get in. We tried to make those announcements. We tried to say, the person in the blue car with license plate, blah, 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 please go to... But what ended up happening is that the police had to go into the crowd. The police had to go across the stands. They had to try and shout into the stands and fish people out. And given the crowds that we're going to have this weekend, we certainly don't want that to happen either. So I ask you for 2 reasons. 1, to let the people enjoy it, to let the people hear their kids' names being read out, to let the people hear the plays being called. And secondly, because we are expecting so many crowds, from a safety standpoint. Because an announcement that would be made concerning safety, parking, welfare, if there's an emergency, no one's going to hear.